Ayo Dosunmu scores his career high in a win over the Washington Wizards, prompting many Bulls fans to ask, what exactly is the talented young guard ceiling? We're going to talk a little bit about both those things. We're also going to dive into the mailbag. All that plus more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host, Terry Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content. And of course, the Chicago Bulls got a victory over the Washington Wizards. Now, this is not anything that can be a foregone conclusion for the Chicago Bulls. Yes, they almost won by 30 points. It's only their second 20-plus point victory on the season because we know the Bulls have a trouble holding on to leads. And then with that said, even in games where they should be that they should win, that they should be favored, it seems like the Bulls don't always play with that level of consistency. I always kind of say that goes back to the team not having kind of that identity to fall back on, lack of ball movement, things like that. But this was a game where this is a team win. The Bulls came out early and just dominated, scoring 32 points in the first quarter, 35 points in the second quarter, and just putting their imprint on the game by halftime, having a 20-point lead. The Bulls they did trail for only 30 seconds in this game. But other than that, they led for basically the whole way through in this game. And then when you look at the performances, specifically Nikola Vucevic and Ayo Dosunmu, Ayo going 14 of 22, 34-point night, a career high, but also 9 assists, 3 rebounds, 1 steal from him. And with all that assist and how much the ball was going through him, only 1 turnover in the game. And that's really big for Ayo Dosunmu, right? Then you look at Nikola Vucevic, the second leading scorer in this game, 29 points. He goes 11 of 19, 1 from 3 from three-point range, 13 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal in this game. He was all over the court as well. Vooch having one of his better games. And listen, they put a small guy on Vooch. And Vooch, we'll talk about that in a second. We got to see petty Vooch in this game, and I love to see petty. Come on now, I'm Petty Rosebud. I love to see pettiness in games. But then also Alex Caruso with 16 points, going 7 of 12. And then Andre Drummond also chipping in 13 points off the bench. But team, played some really good defensive moments. He goes 3 of 5 for 6 points. He had a plus-minus of plus 22, tied with the highest plus-minus with Ayo Dosunmu. As a matter of fact, Javon Carter did play 19 minutes in this game. He goes 1 of 4. Back to being bad Javon Carter shooting-wise. He had some pretty solid defensive moments in this game, though. Dalen Terry also had an opportunity. He played 19 minutes, 6 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. Dalen Terry flashing kind of that all-around game that I always go back to when it comes to Dalen Terry. But one of the things I do want to take some time to talk about in this game is DeMar. DeMar DeRozan, seeing the game of what it was, right? That the young players in Vooch had it going and really played a sometimes, third role in this team. Like, yeah, he had 6 assists, 4 rebounds, 2 steals, 2 blocks, 13 points, but he only took 7 shots, and he got to the free throw line 11 times as well. DeMar let the game come to him, but didn't try to take over the game in any stretch, didn't feel like at any time he's like, I need my 14, 15 shots or whatever it was. He let this game develop naturally over time and just helped out, right? He played his role and played a great one in that for the Chicago Bulls. It's really good to see DeMar have that opportunity to do that as well, whereas other players are stepping up, and we didn't need DeMar to take over the fourth quarter. We didn't need DeMar and his creation in the mid-range a lot, right? With that said, DeMar played and let Ayo, let Vooch, let Caruso, let Andre Drummond really feast in this game, and he just kind of, hey, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. Let me know when my number's called, I'm going to get a bucket. And it was really good to see that. But, of course, coming from this game, and Ayo Dosunmu scoring his career high, got everybody asking, what exactly is Ayo's ceiling? And we know that Ayo was a scoring guard in college. Now, he also had that defensive prowess that helped him make his name in the NBA right away, but we're starting to see an Ayo Dosunmu that's just understanding how and where to pace himself. And he actually was asked about it after the game, and he said this.
Growth, definitely a lot of growth. And I pretty much, in my journal, I wrote down, where I was at last year because I knew it wasn't the player that I wanted to be. And I understood that in order to get better, it's going to take a lot of time and a lot of work. So I pretty much tried to write it down just so, a time like now, I could look back a year and say, okay, this is where I was at. And then, of course, I'm doing the same thing this year for next year because you always want to get better. And, just pretty much just get in the gym, working, watching film, studying with the coaches, understanding ways I can get better, and trying to go out there and doing it.
Ayo showing that ability and that mindset, just saying the whole thing of I'm always trying to be in attack mode. That's the growth in my game. Not playing timid, always attacking, whether it's attacking and keeping my dribble or kicking it out or attacking to score or attacking to get Vuce a shot. I think that's the most dangerous player to guard is someone who's always in attack mode. And Ayo lives that. And this is another reminder that, again, I know Ayo had a sophomore slump, even though the statistics were basically the same as his rookie year and his sophomore year. But, he came in and he's been so much more of a refined player this season and understanding how. And I think moving to the wing, even though he started at point guard, right, in this game has really helped Ayo's game develop so much for him. And it's great to see Ayo just, silencing some of the doubters that popped up around him. Some people even thinking that he would have been gone at the end of last year with his play. And it's great. And Ayo even saying, I knew I wasn't the player I wanted to be. I understood to get better was going to take a lot of time and a lot of work. And that's what the difference is in Ayo Dosunmu, is the work ethic. Even Billy Donovan saying that Ayo was in their building 2 times a day working out because he's from Chicago. He lives in Chicago, right? He's not one of those players that went away in the offseason. And you get to see that in this game. Ayo was already talked about how Peter Patton has helped make him a better shooter as well. So Ayo's ceiling is now the next thing. We know that Kobe's made the leap, a leap, right? Not the leap. He's made a leap. He's still got to show that he's able to do it consistently to get to that next level. But Ayo's made I said it at first he was making a step, and then it was a jump. But in a lot of ways, Ayo Dosunmu's also made a leap for the Chicago Bulls. Now, it is up to him to show that he can do it that he can do it consistently, right? But you got to look at it. Ayo Dosunmu's averaging the most points per game in his career, 11.2, right? He's doing that on 48% shooting from the field. Now, that's actually the lowest field goal shooting percentage of his career, but he's taking the most shots. He's taking almost 2 shots more than what he took last year, which was the highest of his career at 7.1. Also, the three-point shooting prowess from him. 39% shooting from three-point range, taking 4 3-pointers per game, whereas the previous 2 years he took 2.4. Tremendous growth from him there. And so Ayo's really stepped up in a lot of ways, and his ceiling, you can't really cap it right now. And he's reminding Bulls fans of that. Like, he's 24 years old, right? He'll turn 25 in January, so he won't turn 25 until basically halfway through next season. Ayo still has tremendous growth that he's able to do, and the work ethic that he puts in, that Chicago-style work ethic, is going to be a big part of it. He's averaging the highest usage rate of his career at 17.2, up from 15 last season, right? His true shooting percentage is the highest of his career. We talked about the field goal shooting percentage being low. He's shooting 59% true shooting percentage in this on this season. So Ayo has just really shown what he can be, right? And just reminded fans that you can't count a player out, right? You can't, and that keeps being kind of the theme around this Bulls team, is that the young players, even Batum being a rookie, older rookie, of course, he was a pro overseas, like, you can't count these players out. And for once, it seems like the Bulls' development is really starting to hit all at the same time. Kobe hitting his growth, Ayo hitting his growth. And this is only with 1 year of a player development department being in the building for the Chicago Bulls. So imagine what it's going to be like having this department for 2 years, for 3 years, for 5 years, right? And again, you're not going to see growth from Ayo and Kobe every single one of those years. At some point, they're going to plateau. But what does that mean for the young crop that you're bringing in every single year? So I think that's a big part for it, and love to see the way that that Dosunmu's he's just rounding out and being that player again. That, going towards those Drew Holiday comparisons, those back on the table for Ayo Dosunmu. It was great to see, especially in the game where Kobe White was out, that he really stepped into that role and played it amazingly well. And like many people have asked before, are Kobe and Ayo going to be the backcourt of the future for the Chicago Bulls? And every time there's a growth in a step like this, and if it's sustained, again, it's against the Washington Wizards, but he's been doing it over time, and it's been against teams that are much better than the Washington Wizards as well. That question of could this be the backcourt of the future? There's a definitely chance that they can. And we'll see what happens with that one. But I also want to talk about Nikola Vucevic, man. Vuce, who did the too small in this game. It was great to see. But we knew that they were yapping at each other. They got in each other's faces before. And Nikola Vucevic talked about what exactly made him so angry. And Vuce said this.
Just when he stole the ball from me, I was talking to Jason, the ref, afterwards, and he came down and just said some things I didn't like. That I don't think you should say to another man, especially not on the court, and especially not being a young guy trying to make it against a player that's been around for a long time and an older player. So that was all. I mean, obviously, he's playing hard. He's competing. I respect that, but you got to watch what you're saying, how you talk to people. You got to be respectful. So that was the only problem I had with that.
You said you were talking to the ref?
I was talking to the ref.
You were talking to him?
No, I was talking to the ref.
Yeah.
He knew I was, and then he came to me and he was like, "Shut up,
Yeah.
B word," and I was just like, well, "Hold up, you can't talk to me like that." That was it.
So if he didn't learn, Eugene Omoruyi learned last night. Don't play with, especially, listen, he's 6'6", 235 pounds. Make no mistake about it. Young player, 27 years old, but like at the end of the day, Vooch has been doing this. And so like Vooch doing the too small to somebody was priceless. And hearing that, got called a bitch basically, like I'm glad Vooch responded in the way that he responded. Now, do it against people your size too as well, Vooch. Like, people call Vooch soft and whatnot, but it was great to see, man. This was just a really good game, really good win for the Chicago Bulls. I'm glad they were able to pull it out and get the shit done. But this kind of, like I said, goes back to this youth movement that's coming. And I talked about it in yesterday's episode. It's here. And I think that it's going to be interesting to see how a offseason of this player development department and where these young players start off next season at, with hopefully larger roles. That's the team as well. Julian Phillips, when he gets back from injury, which we now know as well that Julian Phillips is going to be out at least 2 weeks. Initially, it was announced that he was going to be out indefinitely. He's going to be out for 2 weeks, which means he's going to come back with maybe 2 weeks left in the season. So, shout out to that. And that's okay. Hopefully he comes back. He's able to carve out a role, get a play-in game in there, get some good games in there towards the back half of the back end of the season. So, it sucks that Julian's going to be down, but off season now with this player development staff being entrenched and kind of all the way ingrained, right? Keep in mind, they just got instilled last offseason. So to be hired and to kind of really get a rein in on everything in one offseason is kind of difficult. But now that they've been here this whole season, now that they're there, they're building, their offices are there, they've had the relationship with the players. It's going to be really fun to see how the development goes over the summer for these young Chicago Bulls players. But as always, guys, you guys can let me know what you guys think on all that down below. But let's go ahead and get into the voicemail bag today, man. This first voicemail, this one's from No Sage.
King, No Sage from Hip Hop Head. Just some stage thoughts. Look, man, I don't know. I think you've been bringing up what's the Bulls' identity lately, and since the Bulls haven't identified an identity, maybe AK was trying to brand them with one, right? So competitive, I forget what the cringeworthy buzzword was last year, but man, I don't know. Like, I'm trying to insert the identity of relatability, man. Like, the dinners with DeMar Pod is pretty cool. With D-Wade on episode 2, he was talking about a lot of nice gems, but the one bar that stuck with me was that he treats people as real people, like fans. Like, he approaches them and tries to, like, chop it up with them as much as he can. And the relatability story I have here is that I was coaching a fourth grader who went to a Bulls game. It was Suns versus Bulls, and he was able to get Devin Booker to sign a Suns jersey that he had, which was really nice. But it was really like quick, short, curt, no eye contact. Here's your jersey, kid. But then somehow he also got to chop it up with DeMar, and DeMar, the dad, told me that he chatted with him like almost an hour, and they were just like, like vibing. And then, I'm like, who does that? Like, why would you even care about hanging out with a younger third grader? That's not even on your level. So I don't know. I digress, man. Like, the Bulls are really relatable in my eyes. Everyone wants to like say middling and mediocre and mediocrity. And I don't know, man, like everybody has a person in their circle that's like a Kobe that ascends, and a Caruso that's in your jersey, and a Vooch that gives awkward hugs after a victory. So, that's about it. All right, peace.
Listen, DeMar is a great human. We got a lot of great humans on this team, right? And I get what you're saying about, the Bulls being relatable, right? And that's great. But when we talk about identity, we mean on the court, and that's where the Bulls face. We've always known that we got good guys. We got good guys that are quiet, that do those things. We got good people on this team, but the identity needs to be on the court when we talk about identity, and that's where the Bulls have fallen short on. But that's an amazing story, and we know that DeMar does that. Zach, to a degree, has done that as well, also over his career. You got hard workers like Ayo Dosunmu, Kobe White, who's just a lot of fun. We have great people on this Bulls team. We just need that leader, that thing on the court, that identity on the court. But yeah, great story. That's an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. But great, yeah. And DeMar, the more that DeMar opens up and talks about like his mental health and things like that, we all know that DeMar as a person, outside the side babies joke, but outside of that, like you can't deny who DeMar is as a person, man. And he's been great for the mental part of all it, for the young players and everything else, and for the franchise. And so hopefully, hopefully we continue to have that part, but also get that identity on the court as well. All right, let's get into this next voicemail from Bryant Washington.
Hey, what's up, hey? This is your boy Brian Washington from the West Side. Congratulations on all your success. I've been out for a minute, been down and out in the hospital for a couple of months and a half. I'm back well, up and running, but I want to congratulate you. I also want to make a point where we'll talk about the things that I've been hearing on the last show is the paralyzing of DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is a dog, and he's well respected in the league, and I think you need that type of player. Every team needs that type of player, whether he's old or not. You need that on your team. That's why Miami's still so good, because they had you down as Hassel. You need that, whether he play or not. I mean, you need that on your team. And the money situation, I hope they keep him. I pray they keep him. You just need to move some other pieces around that ain't worth being on the team, that's getting some of the money, too much money, and they stay on the team. You know what I'm saying? But I don't want to see no more rookies. You can go younger without all this draft. Everybody's talking about the draft. You could go younger without using the draft, because I really don't want to see no more rebuilding. We have a good enough team. You just need to move some pieces around. You don't necessarily have to go downhill into rebuild mode to make this team a good team. It's a good team already. You just need to move certain pieces and draft. If you're going to draft the right pieces. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have some good rookies. There's no point of drafting rookies if you're not going to play them or you're not going to develop them. What the hell is the G League for? You know what I'm saying? We got players over there that was good. You released them. You let them go to other teams, and they probably not doing good there, but they were playing good in the G League. You got Sinago. I like Sinago. Give him a chance. If you need a big man, give these players a chance. Like Fatim, I like him. I like his basketball IQ, like you said. But give him a chance. Play him more. You got all these other players, these veterans on your team that ain't shit. You know what I'm saying? Literally ain't doing good, that you brought to the team, paying them these 3-year contracts, and they ain't doing nothing. You know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily have to draft to go younger. Just move some pieces around. Donovan, they have to, the front office have to move some pieces around. That's what we brought them here for, but they're not doing it. So you don't have to coach better. You have to use these players, or we will be watching the same shit for the next 10 years. I don't want to see no rebuilding team no more. Use what we got. Just all you got to do is piece the right team together. Put the right pieces together. The right pieces. Maybe the right coach, if that comes the case. But it's all about putting things together.
All right, I get a lot of what you're saying, right? First of all, forget my success here. Thank you for that. But hope you first have a speedy recovery, right? That you've been dealing with some health things. Hopefully that you have that speedy recovery. Prayers up to you and your family, brother. But here's the thing. We're always, you should want draft picks. And drafting doesn't mean rebuild. That's adding to what you're already doing. Rebuild is when you trade off all your pieces for draft picks. But no, you want rookies coming in here. That's how you build long-term sustained success, is drafting rookies and developing those rookies, right? But that's kind of the part that what you said in there that I completely agree with you, is that we have drafted these players and haven't really invested in their development. But now that we have that player development staff, hopefully that starts changing, and our opinions and views on that starts getting into a better place, because that is how you build long-term sustained success. And even you saying, hey, you don't have to draft players to get younger. Yeah, technically, but then you're paying more money, which then limits that. If you draft your young players and develop them and they hit for you, doesn't always have to be star level to hit, right? But they hit their development for you. That's how you sustain. That's how you build a team. That's how you keep a team together. Otherwise, we're going to be right where we are in another 3 years, even if we sign a younger player, where it's like, hey, we got to avoid the luxury tax. They're about to get the max. What we're going to do? So those are the type of things. So I get what you're rooted in saying that, but no, you always should want draft picks on your team, right? That doesn't mean you have to blow up your team for draft picks. And, yeah, we've been in a state of rebuilding for a while, right? And we haven't built something that's been consistent, but going full rebuild, which some people's called, and going younger are very different things. And you want that younger talent coming in. You just have to draft the right pieces for sure. But thank you for that voicemail, Mr. Washington. Let's get into this next one. This one is from Quentin from Let's Talk Bulls.
What is up, Hayes? It's your boy. It is Quentin from Let's Talk Bulls. I just wanted to leave a voicemail just talking about Tim and how I've been just so enthusiastic about watching him play, seeing his game, and thinking about the things he will bring to this team next season. I think from what I've seen so far, he knows where to be on the court. He makes smart decisions. He can pass. He can shoot. He can get up at the rim. And I think that we've only seen the surface of what he will be for this team. I think the Bulls are taking it slow. They're building him up right and letting him learn the NBA game. And it kind of makes you really look back at what AK said about wanting to stay the course, right? When you think about it, I have to admit, I think I might have been wrong. Watching this team play, seeing the young players develop, seeing them take moments each and every game to show that they are learning how to be ready in this league really makes me think that he's planning on having a great step up next year from a lot of them. I don't think we'll be an amazing team next year, but I think we're going to see the young players really start to make a name for themselves, and the Bulls are going to become one of those young, up-and-coming teams where people look at us and they really think if they get a piece or they get a couple pieces, a lot of things will change. Let me know what you think. Always good to be on the channel. Talk to you later.
I agree with everything that you said, man. I came into the season saying that one of the things that are so much doubt around the Bulls is the fact that we didn't know how many of these young players were really going to be, foundational pieces for the Chicago Bulls. And by foundational, it doesn't mean stars, right? It just means that players that are part of your organization for years that you can build around, that you can know, hey, we got this shooter off the bench. It's going to be great. We know that Ayo Dosunmu is going to be a big part of what we are in 3, 4, 5 years, right? But a lot of that has been changed now. Kobe has shown it. Ayo has shown it. Julian has shown a lot of flashes, right? Even being a rookie, but he has that mentality. Dalen's starting to come along for the Chicago Bulls, right? But listen, the way that Ernulop moves on the court and that he understands where he has to be both passing-wise and trying to score himself is great and amazing to see. You got to give that young man credit. So I agree with you, but team ceiling is a great – I think he has starting level ceiling now. We had somebody call in yesterday and said he has star level. I'm not ready to say that, but Batum, you can see being a long-term starter on a team with how he moves without the ball, how he defends, how he understands how to get that shot off quick, but also put the ball on the floor to try to get to the rim, which he's been doing a little bit more over these last couple of games. Batum has a lot of that, and a lot of our young players do. And I think that these young players starting to carve out roles for themselves where they're going to know exactly the consistent role heading into next season is going to be great to see for the Chicago Bulls team, to see the young players kind of prioritized in a lot of ways. And let's see what that means for the team long term. Great voicemail there, Quentin. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Marvin.
What's going on, Hayes? Marvin. Okay, I know I hadn't been calling in, but that's for a different conversation. I'll get back with you on that. I want to address 2 players on the Bulls real quick. Try to get in 2 minutes. First of all, I want to address Alex Caruso. I've been hearing a whole lot about Kobe and all the rest of the guys doing well. Caruso's doing pretty well, guys, for the Bulls. I want you guys to understand that he's playing shooting the best 3-point percentage of his career, and he's been scoring in the last 3 games. So let's give him a little more props. The second one I want to address, guys, is the one that I hear so much ragging on. I don't call in that much because I hear it all the time, but I want you guys to Nikola Vucevic. First of all, I want to say this. Nikola Vucevic has been a model of consistency for the Bulls for quite a while, guys. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, he's in his 14th year, averaging 8-10 for the Bulls. And that's in a centers league. At the top 10 centers out of the league, where would you think he ranked? He's actually 4th, 5th ranking in that, in his 14th year. The 2 top centers in the league is Joker, who's at 26 and 12, and Karl Anthony Towns, who's averaging 22 and 8. So I wanted to say this. If you guys can remember the last good center that the Bulls had, which was probably Paul Gasol, half you guys don't even see him play that much. I'm not ragging on you guys, but we didn't have good centers. And before then, it was Arch Gilmore. I want to say this. We don't give Vooch enough credit for what he does. The model of consistency, and I want to make sure that you guys understand. He's not a changer on the team, but he's a third option also, and he still has an 18 and 10. I'm going to be calling back in. Take care, guys.
All great points from Marvin, as always. Alex Caruso and how he's developed his game. The fact that he said, I want my offense to match my defense, and he basically came in and did that. So, I mean, you can't deny that from Alex Caruso, who's been so great, so important. And that's why you see the Bulls have the value for Alex Caruso that they do, that they would have wanted multiple first-round picks if they were to move on from him, because they don't want to move on from Alex Caruso, and that all makes sense. And as far as your Vooch point, yeah, the thing with Vooch is, the thing that he's doing the worst is shooting the 3 ball, right? When you look at everything else that he's doing, still one of the most, getting the most double-doubles in the NBA, right? Still having, like you said, 18 and 11. He is still a very solid piece that you can It's just that, like I've said, even in that video, is the fact that the Bulls haven't put him in a situation to where they put in piece around him to help kind of counteract some of his limitations, right? And then we have weak defenders in pick and roll all up and down the team, which puts him in a worse place. But he's averaging 18 points per game, 10.7 rebounds per game on 47% shooting. Vooch isn't terrible. He has his bad nights, especially shooting the three ball, right? He's shooting the three ball 28%. That's the second worst of his career. But outside of the three ball, he's solid enough and everything. Yeah, there's been a decline in field goal shooting percentage overall. Absolutely. He's taking more shots than last year as well, taking 16.3 versus 14 shots last season. And he started off the season bad, and he still has his games where Vooch just falls in love with the three-point shot. But I do think that's because of roster construction, not just on him. But when Vooch keeps his ass in the paint, it's really hard to deny that Nikola Vucevic is still a solid enough center in this league. But I do think the Bulls still need to start preparing and get that next center to start grooming to be the starter at the end of Vooch's deal. So, we'll see what happens with that one. But great points all from Marvin. He always makes great points. Let's get into the last voicemail for today. This one's from Shay.
What's up, Hayes? Look, I know I've talked about this guy before, but here are my reasons why the Bulls should look to draft Donovan Clingan. Even if we have a top pick, middle pick, whatever pick, man. If we could get him, I think we should get him. We already missed out on Walker Kessler, and we've been regretting that for a while now. Especially we're regretting it now since we might not be able to re-sign Andre Drummond in free agency. And on top of that, Vooch is on the decline, man. So we're definitely going to need some new blood at that center position. Another thing, he's not too athletic and he does have some flaws. I feel like with the new staff development, he could turn into a much better shooter with the skills that he has already. Look, I know everybody wants all this athleticism and all that, but I feel like he's a smart player. He's a high IQ type of player, and he could be a good deal next to Patrick Williams, Kobe White, and Ayo Dosunmu, and whoever develops into a small force. But look, man, I'm not saying he's the end-all, be-all, but I feel like he could do good with this new young talent. And plus, he could shoot a little bit, and he does everything that we need him to do in terms of being a center, and he's a big, burly guy. And he can only get better. Look, I know you probably high on somebody else, but I think that this is the dude that we need. And not only that, this guy, he knows how to make winning plays. He's not going to jump out the gym or nothing of that, but he's going to make the right plays and play the right way within the system. But hey, I could be wrong. Anyway, tell me what you think. Peace.
All right, Shay, I'm going to be real with you, 100% real with you. It seems like you just have zeroed in on Donovan Clingan for some reason. Because, yeah, everything that you said is true. But again, you talking about something to reach. No, you should not want your basketball team with a first-round pick, a pick that's going to either be a lottery pick or right outside the lottery, depending on where we finish or we make it out the play-in, when there are literally players better at everything that you name than him. Players that are better than everything that you name. Kyle Filipowski, better at everything than Clingan, at the same position that you mentioned, right? Khalil Ware, higher upside, but still solid enough and ready to go, just like Donovan Clingan. So it really seems like you've watched, and you know what, Shay, I got to throw some fun. That's my little brother. Shay watches one game, and then like 5 minutes of a game at that, and then it's like, oh my God, this is just how it's always going to be. But you got to watch some of the other teams. Like I guarantee Khalil Ware will wow you for him, especially his athleticism. Khalil Ware has the upside of being a Jared Allen. That's upside. That doesn't mean that he's going to hit that, but so there are players with much higher upsides in this draft that you really kind of have to take a look at rather than reaching on a player that's slated. Usually players that are slated by every mock to go late in the second round, there's usually reasons for that. Now, that doesn't mean they still can't turn into solid NBA players, but you just can't reach that where you have players that are, in some cases, younger, maybe even a little older, but with higher ceilings and that perform better than Drew Clingan. But again, he's not a bad prospect because the Bulls do go a different route. Let's say they go with TSJ in the first round and they trade into the second round. Yeah, I wouldn't be mad at Clingan at that point, but you got to look at, I think, where the Bulls are, overall talent and potential, still at a position of need. You got to go those players kind of first. But, we'll end up seeing what happens. Great voicemail there, Shay. But that's my time for today, guys. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, bullscentralpod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.